Hi everyone, greetings or post-Easter greetings to everyone who watches our show. As always, here me and Vala Arome to share with you our thoughts, experiences and tips how you can reach financial freedom faster and more easier, because our mission is to help to achieve for people financial freedom through business or investing while having more options to live harmonious lives for you and your families. So today's topics we would like to discuss with Fowler is focus. Actually, why focus is important if you want to achieve your goals, and not only financial goals, but also financial is a part of it. And usually when we speak about investing and different streams of income, people mention the term diversification, which means basically that you need to split your investments to different asset classes, to different tools in order to manage the risk. But why focus is sometimes even more important than diversification, and why it's really important to know to where to focus, this is the topic we would like to discuss. So Vala, hi, and what are your thoughts about the diversification and the focus?
It's there's a lot of signs you can find from the nature, which gives you the answer. So one of the things is how the sun is going through the magnifying glass. So you can be in the sun, but if it's going through the magnifying glass, which is a focus, then you will have a totally different result. And I think it's the same applies with investing and actually everything what you do in life. So yeah, I mean there's a place for diversification as well. But I believe that focus is really the key, is to decide what you want to do, and then the definition that I like the most is follow one course until successful.
Exactly.
So if you really focus on this thing, what you decide, and you will are patient enough to wait for the results, then I think you will achieve more than with diversification.
I totally agree in it, and this is probably the reason why it is important to have a really clear distinction between what does it mean to have multiple opportunities for the income, and on the other side is multiple streams of income. Because what you said with this magnifying glass example, in order to set up the fire on the specific place, you need really to focus this magnifying glass and wait while the fire is up. And if you are just trying to spread everywhere, you won't have a fire at all. And this is the same with multiple streams of income or multiple opportunities for the income, because usually people mess this together, but it's totally different things, at least what I see it. Because if you try to create a lot of streams of income right away, spreading your efforts to a total different types of income, asset classes, and so on, probably you will have a lot of places where you could have an income, but you won't have an income. And if you focus on creating the income stream from, let's say, one asset class, then move on to another asset class, or let's say you create one business and then go to another business, it's much easier for you to really have multiple streams of income, because you already have one income which you stabilize and you go for another one, instead of just trying to spread it 5 or 6 places at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you actually you start with focus, but there is a time and place also for diversification, because let's say if we talk about investing, you need focus to build up the capital, and once the capital is there and you got your result, then it's a time for diversification, because actually you want to maintain and you want to keep the capital that you created. And that's why you start lowering the risk. So diversification is more like lowering the risk when the results are already there. So, but usually if you start to use it too early, then you may not get the results at all.
Exactly. At the same time, also, I would say that diversification is actually important in the asset classes where you don't have any other possibilities to control the risk. Because then the only way to control the risk and to lower it is just to diversify to different tools, to different stocks, for example. But if you know what you're doing, and if you really have other means how to control the risk, you can actually focus on a specific asset group and do it much better. This is why probably Warren Buffett has been saying that diversification for people who don't know what we're doing. And this is exactly it is.
So exactly, and I think it's Yeah, I think once you start to build your asset class, you have to pick, what is your favorite asset class, and you definitely have to focus for a long time to get the results. But eventually, you may want to, diversify between different asset classes eventually, just to, keep the capital.
And this is
But it's
most
really like
important,
the end
probably.
game.
Exactly, and this is probably the real diversification is actually between the different asset classes, not inside the one asset class. Because if something happens with a specific asset class, let's say paper assets, it happens to every paper asset. Doesn't matter, is it like Apple stocks or it's McDonald's stocks? If stocks are falling, every stocks are falling. Okay, maybe the difference is between the ratio how they're gonna fall, but still the emotions goes to all of the investors. And the real diversification, I would
Yes.
even call it asset allocation, is actually between the different asset classes.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the vocabulary term we want to discuss with you today is actually clarity, which is exactly knowing where you are, knowing where you want to be financially, and at the same time knowing which asset class is the most interesting for you to start with. And if you come back even to the financial journey model, which we developed in Starfish, it probably really connects with the way if you want to go from level 2 to level 3 and also from level 3 to level 4, because one of the questions is exactly know what asset classes are the ones you want to focus on.
Yeah, exactly. I think the investing game starts from making a decision, where you want to focus, and there's actually many options. So we have been talking about there are 6 different asset classes, and you have to pick your favorite one and start from there. And then eventually you may maybe look at the second one as well, but you want to really maintain the focus as much as possible.
Definitely. So let's say, just to give an example for those who watch our show, what are the 2 main asset classes you are focusing for now?
Well, for me, definitely the most interesting is business, and also real estate. So I would say these 2 are my favorites. Have been already for the past 10 years, and that's where I put most of my focus for the last years. How about you?
Yeah, I started actually from the paper assets in the previous times when I started my journey, but then I switched and I actually reinvested the capital which I created in paper assets to real estate and business. So currently it's exactly the same. But for you, business and investing is one of the two asset classes which are the most interesting for you. Basically, maybe we are even dividing it between me and my wife. So for me, business is number 1 and real estate is number 2, and for her is opposite. Like real estate is number 1 and business is number 2. So this is how we divide our efforts. But this is exactly what we have been talking about. That you need to have really high clarity in order to know where you want to focus the most. And then basically, as you continue doing these steps, you create steady income from these asset classes. You can also invest to other ones. Just for this, you probably will need some other people in the team who will be more passionate about these other asset classes, and they could be like your advisors. But for this, again, you need to have a higher level of financial IQ in order to know which advice to take on and which advice is not good for you.
And I think there's a lot of people out there who see mostly only the paper assets as a possibility, and probably the majority of the people are in the paper assets, but there are much more options than that. So everybody has to pick their favorite, and that's the game.
Exactly, especially now probably when the economy is like really showing good growth in paper assets because of the money printing, and even I would say there is a new type of investors. We could call them Robin Hood generation, because they probably hasn't experienced growth lower than I don't know, 50% per year or something like this. So for them, if you say that, let's say the normal average return on investment from paper assets would be from 8 to 12%, we even that can't understand it. And this just shows that how economy and the situation in economy can influence the focus of the people. But is it the right focus? Probably not, because if you don't see the whole picture in total, and you can't understand the risks which can appear there in the future, this is not the real clarity for you to start investing.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of people out there who see mostly only the paper assets as a possibility, and probably the majority of the people are in the paper assets, but there are much more options than that. So everybody has to pick their favorite, and that's the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean paper market has gone up like for the last 12 years. So if you started less than 12 years ago, then you only think that it will always go up. And last year it was like a bump in the road. It was a big bump, but still you can see that now it's again all-time high. So there's a lot of belief that you just have to put money there and it just starts to grow.
Yeah, just recently, like a few days ago, I was reading one discussion in one of Facebook groups about investing in our country, and there was a question from one member. So, what percentage of return you would consider as a good return? It was really interesting to see the comments because the answers was varying from, let's say, 8-12%, which was given mainly by more like professional and experienced investors, up to 300% a year from those who probably just started investing this year and they don't see other returns than that. And this is quite a risky choice for them to focus on these returns, because probably in the long term it's really hard to see that each year you would be getting 300% a year. Otherwise, all like really strong investors and experienced ones like Warren Buffett and others would be like just losers in this case. So this is why it's important not only to see really high returns, but to really have a real clarity about advantages and disadvantages, about possibilities and risks which comes with each choice. Either is it paper assets, real estate, cryptocurrency, or what other possibilities around you.
And I mean, if you look also the history, I mean, if history is a teacher, then I mean, this 300% is never sustainable. And even if you can have it for a short time, then it shouldn't be the expectation. And having this double-digit growth per year is already big enough for most of the investors who are really professionals. So yeah, it's interesting times for sure.
Exactly. So, by the way, those who watch our show, feel free to answer, write the questions below the video, and we will be more than happy to answer them during the show or after the show in the next show if you write it watching the recorded version. And at the same time, if you have any suggestions for us about the topics you would like to hear in the upcoming shows, also feel free to comment and we will include them in our list. And this will probably bring you more value in the future. So, well, final thoughts about the focus. What do you think could be the first steps for people who now understand that they need, first of all, to find this higher level of clarity in order to start their steps in investing or in business, because maybe business will appear as their main asset class to focus on, in order to find out what asset class would be for them. So what would be the first steps to gain this clarity and to be able to focus on?
Well, I think the very first step is always the why question. Why do you invest overall? What is the dream, or what is the lifestyle that you want to have through the business or investing? But if you look at the asset classes, I would say that there's some areas where you feel more attraction to, or you feel more passion to. And like you said, for you it's business, for your wife it's real estate. So there's some inner feeling that draws more to certain asset class, and there's something special that you like about it. And if I'm thinking about my own decision, business is probably because it's communication. It's you can decide yourself how to do it. So there's a lot of freedom around it. So probably it comes a bit also with your nature and their characteristics. So for example, if you like numbers, I mean, you're probably drawn more to the paper or crypto assets. If you like this steady income, maybe real estate. And if you like this, communication and talking to people and sales and stuff like that, then maybe it's business. So I think it really comes down to your inner feeling, and I don't think there's like one way how to find it out. It's more like what's your passion.
Exactly, I totally agree on it, and basically it comes to your character, like you said, because if you are more emotional one, even though you like the numbers, probably it will be hard for you to invest, let's say, to cryptocurrencies where the rate can just jump get back in hours, not days, but in hours and minutes. And at the same time, if your risk tolerance is quite low, then probably you will be choosing more like a stable type of investments or maybe cash flow strategy from either paper assets through dividends or maybe through rental income out of real estate. So just dig deeper to your inner feelings, to your character, to your character traits also, and this will help you to understand what could be your choices in the future. And watch our previous shows on the channels you like the most, like Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, where you can find us. Just type Starfish Academy here, follow us, because it's not only Moneylogy shows, but other content which can be valuable for you on your journey. And let's meet next week, the same time on Moneylogy show, and we will be waiting also for your suggestions about the topic you would like to include us here. So thank you, Vala, for your sharings and thoughts, and let's meet next week.
See you next week.